France versus Morocco. This is no longer just another World Cup match. It is not just a quarter-final. It is the continuation of a story that began back in Qatar, when Morocco made the whole world talk about an African national team as a real contender for the very highest places, and France was the team that stopped that dream just one step away from the final. 4 years have passed, but the feeling has not disappeared. Back then, France won 2-0 and moved on. Back then, Morocco was the story of the tournament, the team that broke expectations, knocked out favorites, played with incredible discipline and belief, but still ran into a French machine that in the decisive moment was colder, stronger, and more clinical. Now everything feels different. Morocco is no longer seen as a beautiful surprise. Morocco is no longer a team people can simply call a shock package. This is now a national side with a reputation, with experience, with confidence, and with the feeling that it has every right to look any opponent in the eye, and France understands that perfectly. On the other side is France, a team that once again moves through the tournament as one of the main favorites. France has speed, squad depth, knockout stage experience, a coach who knows how to win major tournaments, and an attack that makes almost every opponent think less about how to be brave and more about how to survive. Kylian Mbappe, Ousmane Dembele, Michael Olise, Bradley Barcola, Désir Dou. This is not just a list of names, it is constant danger, it is speed in every part of the final third, it is one-on-one quality, it is shooting, it is passing, it is penalties, it is the run behind the defensive line. It is the kind of moment that can appear even when the opponent seems to have closed everything down. And that is exactly why the match against Morocco becomes the first real test of maturity for France in this knockout stage. Not because the previous opponents were weak. Sweden and Paraguay had already asked France different questions, but Morocco is a different level of resistance. This is a team that can not only defend, but also play out of pressure, not only suffer, but also attack, not only wait for mistakes, but force the opponent into making them. France came through Paraguay with a 1-0 win. On paper, that looks calm. The favorite won, moved on, did the job, but in terms of the match itself, it was an important warning. Paraguay closed the spaces, slowed the rhythm, made it physical, forced France to be patient, to search, to wait, and to avoid losing control emotionally. France had to play not beautiful football, but playoff football. The kind of football where there is little space, where every foul can break the rhythm, where the opponent does not want to give you a show, but wants to destroy your plan. And France still found the way. Mbappe's penalty became the decisive moment, but the fact that France had to work so long to break down a compact defense shows one thing clearly: against Morocco, nothing will come easily. Because Morocco can defend at least as well as Paraguay, and it can attack with far more danger. Morocco, on the other hand, arrives after a brilliant win over Canada. 3-0 in a World Cup knockout match is not just a result, it is a statement. Mohamed Ouabi's team showed that it can do more than suffer and wait, it can punish. It survived difficult spells, found its rhythm, grew stronger after the break, used Azzedine Ounahi's movement, Brahim Diaz's creativity, and the confidence that has long become part of this national team's identity. Ounahi scored twice, and that detail matters, because Morocco is often viewed through its defense, through Yassine Bounou, through Achraf Hakimi, through compactness and discipline. But this Morocco is not only a low block near its own penalty area. This is a team where midfielders can arrive in the box, where the wide areas can explode, where Brahim Diaz can find the final pass, where Ounahi can play higher and become a real problem between the lines. France faces a difficult task. It must not allow Morocco to feel that this match can be controlled emotionally. If Morocco survives the first 20 minutes, if it does not concede an early goal, if it breaks out a couple of times through Hakimi or Diaz, if the stadium starts to feel that the favorite is not completely dominating, the match immediately changes. France may still have the stronger squad, but the pressure will begin to grow. For France, the opening spell matters. Didier Deschamps will surely understand that the longer Morocco keeps the score level, the stronger its belief becomes. This team no longer breaks under pressure. It knows how to live inside uncomfortable scenarios. It knows how to survive waves of attacks. It knows how to close spaces so well that the opponent starts to feel like there is no way through, and if France spends too long moving the ball without creating real danger, Morocco will wait for its moment with more and more confidence. The key question for France is how to open a compact but mobile Moroccan defense, and this is where Michael Olise could have a huge role. Olise has become one of France's most important players in this tournament. He brings not only technique, but intelligence. He can receive between the lines, switch the direction of an attack, search for passes into the box, and combine with Dembélé and Mbappe. If Morocco closes the center, Olise must find the half spaces. If Morocco blocks the wings, he must appear in the free pocket just outside the penalty area. But there is also a risk around Olise. He is already on a yellow card, and another booking could make him miss a possible semi-final. The same applies to Bradley Barcola and Manu Kone. That is an important psychological detail. In a quarter-final, you cannot play while thinking about the next match, because there may not be a next match. But players still understand the cost of every challenge, every foul, every emotional reaction. Morocco may try to use that by making the game physical and forcing French players into difficult decisions. Aurélien Tchouameni remains a separate storyline. If he is not ready, it changes the balance of the midfield. Tchouameni is not just a holding midfielder for France, he is the player who closes space, helps on set pieces, wins aerial duels, starts attacks, and gives the team physical stability. Without him, Manu Kone can continue in midfield, but he is a slightly different profile. Kone is powerful, energetic, and aggressive, but the question is whether he can manage the zones with the same calm against Morocco's movement. Morocco will try to attack not in a straight line, but through rotations. Brahim Diaz can drift inside, Ouani can push higher, Bilal El Khanous can search for space between the lines, and Achraf Hakimi can join down the right flank. If the French midfield loses compactness, Morocco will find the exact channels where it is most dangerous. It does not need to dominate possession, it only needs 2 or 3 clean exits into the right zones. But France knows how to punish teams like that. When an opponent pushes a fullback forward, Mbappe gets space behind. When an opponent shifts toward Dembélé, the opposite flank opens. When a holding midfielder steps out toward Olise, a gap appears between the center-backs and the midfield line. France knows how to wait for those tiny moments. Kylian Mbappe is the main figure of the French attack, and perhaps the main player of the whole tournament right now. 7 goals at the World Cup is not just a statistic, it is a constant feeling of danger. Even if he goes long stretches without touching the ball, even if he is double-teamed, even if a defender reads the first movement, Mbappe remains the kind of player who can decide a match in 1 second. Against Morocco, he will have a special duel. Not only against defenders, but against space itself. Morocco will not give him many free meters. Achraf Hakimi knows Mbappe very well, but the real question is who will meet him most often in the actual match situations. If Mbappe drifts to the left, his job will not only be to beat his man, but to pull the defense toward him and open zones for Barcola, Olise, or Dembélé. If he plays closer to the center, he will have to fight with the center-backs, receive with his back to goal, and wait for teammates making runs around him. Mbappe has long since become more than a speed player. Yes, his acceleration remains a terrifying weapon, but he has become smarter in his pauses, in his positioning, and in his sense of timing. He does not always run immediately. He can stand on the offside line, wait until the defender loses focus, and then explode. He can attract 2 players, and with 1 touch, release the ball into the channel where a teammate is free. So Morocco's task is not simply to stop Mbappe physically. It has to stop the entire system that creates conditions for him. Ousmane Dembélé is a different kind of threat. He is unpredictable. He is hard to read because he is dangerous with both feet. He can go outside, cut inside, drive across, or shoot. Against a compact defense, players like him are especially valuable. When combinations do not work, an individual action can break the block, but Dembélé must be precise. Against Morocco, a lost dribble can immediately become a counterattack. Bradley Barcola gives France depth and verticality. He can attack open space, accelerate down the flank, and force defenders to retreat. If Morocco drops too deep, Barcola may be needed to stretch the line. If Morocco tries to press higher, Barcola can become the player who runs into the space behind. But France cannot think only about attacking, because Morocco is dangerous precisely when the opponent becomes too absorbed in its own pressure. Achraf Hakimi remains one of the best right-backs in the world, not only because of his speed, but because of how well he chooses the moment to go forward. He does not simply sprint into every attack. He feels when the flank is free, when a teammate is ready to find him, when he can burst into the box or play the cutback. If France loses the ball on the left side of its attack, Hakimi can immediately receive space, and then the French defense has to reorganize very quickly. Lucas Digne, if he starts on the left side of the defense, will need to be extremely disciplined. The center-backs, William Saliba and Dayot Upamecano, must be ready for runs behind them and passes into the channel between defender and goalkeeper. Mike Maignan will have to keep reading the depth constantly. Yassine Bounou is a separate figure for Morocco. At World Cups, he almost always looks like a goalkeeper made for big moments. He can keep his team alive when the pressure becomes heavy. He is strong on his line, psychologically strong against penalties, and calm when everything around him becomes tense. For Morocco, that matters not only technically, but emotionally. When defenders know they have that kind of goalkeeper behind them, one mistake does not always feel like a disaster. But against France, Bounou will face a very difficult job. The shots may not only come after clear chances. Mbappe can shoot from a half position, Dembele can strike unexpectedly, Olise can bend one from the edge of the box. Barcola can drive a low ball across goal that changes direction off a defender. For a goalkeeper, this is the kind of match where concentration has to be absolute. Morocco's central defense will also be under enormous pressure. If Ismail Saibari is not ready, Morocco may play without a classic center forward, or with Soufiane Rahimi up front. That changes the attacking balance, but it does not necessarily make the team weaker. Without a traditional number 9, Morocco can become more mobile. Rahimi can move into different zones, Ounahi can arrive higher, and Diaz can receive more freedom between the lines. French defenders may find it harder to understand exactly who they are supposed to mark. On the other hand, the absence or limited fitness of Saibari could take away some of Morocco's physical presence up front. Against France, there are moments when you need someone to hold the ball, use the body, and let the team move out from under pressure. If there is no forward who can consistently secure possession, Morocco may give the ball back to France too quickly, and against an attack like this, constant pressure eventually tends to create a chance. Didier Deschamps knows the value of matches like this. He is often criticized for being pragmatic, but that pragmatism has kept France at the top for many years. Deschamps does not build a team for pretty quotes, he builds a team for results. He can play brightly when space is there. He can play hard when the match demands a fight. He can be patient when the opponent shuts everything down. He can introduce a fresh player who decides a moment, and in a quarter-final, that quality matters even more. For Deschamps, this tournament also has another layer. He is moving toward the end of a long cycle with the national team. When a coach works with one national team for so many years, every knockout match is not just another game, it becomes part of a legacy. France wants to reach another semi-final, to show again that it is not simply strong because of one generation, but structurally strong as a football nation. Mohamed Ouahabi is in a different situation. He came into the team before the tournament and has already shown that he can not only preserve Morocco's spirit, but add new ideas. After Walid Regragui's era, his task was difficult, not to destroy what worked, but also not to live only on memories of Qatar. So far, Morocco looks like a team that has kept the old discipline and added more courage in attack. Ouahabi made an important move by pushing Ounahi higher and using a more flexible attacking structure. That makes Morocco less predictable. Against France, that could be decisive. If Morocco simply drops deep and waits, France will sooner or later find a moment. But if Morocco can intelligently alternate between defending and pressing, between a low block and quick exits, between patience and acceleration, then the favorites' task becomes much harder. The main tactical question is where the match will be played, on Morocco's half, or in transition. If France forces Morocco to defend constantly near its own box, the match will follow the French script. It may not mean an early goal, but it will mean constant pressure, set pieces, second balls, shots, and tired defenders. In that scenario, France will slowly tighten the circle. If Morocco manages to draw France forward and break out regularly, the match becomes dangerous for the favorite. France does not like chaos near its own penalty area. When Deschamps' team controls the structure, it is extremely hard to break down. But when the match turns into repeated sprints from one end to the other, even elite defenders can end up in uncomfortable situations. Hakimi, Diaz, Ounahi, and El Khanous are exactly the kind of players who can create those moments. Midfield will be the key zone. If France starts with Manu Kone and Adrien Rabiot, they will need not only to destroy, but also to move the ball forward quickly. Rabiot matters because he can cover large spaces and appear in attack as a second-wave runner. Kone matters because of his physicality, aggression and dueling, but against Morocco, they cannot lose positional discipline. One wrong step forward, and Ounahi or Diaz can receive in space. For Morocco, Neil El Ainaoui and Ayoub Bouadi may start in the center. This is a young, energetic, hard-working pair that will have to withstand the speed and pressure of the French midfield. They will have to run a lot without the ball, protect the flanks, close the zones in front of the defenders, and still have the courage to play forward. If they simply start clearing the ball, France will bring attacks back in waves. If they find the first pass, Morocco gets oxygen. Brahim Diaz is one of Morocco's biggest keys in attack. He does not necessarily have to score. His job is to connect the game, receive between the lines, turn, find Hakimi, play into Ounahi, shift into a shooting position, win a foul. His creative role has already become an important part of Morocco's path. Against France, every time he receives the ball, could be the moment when the favorites' defense starts moving in a way Deschamps does not want. But France will try to close Diaz through density in the half spaces. Upamecano and Saliba must not drop too deep, or the space between the lines will open. But stepping out too aggressively is also dangerous, because Rahimi can open up behind them. This is a delicate game of distances. In a quarter-final, 5 meters can decide everything. Set pieces are another huge theme. France is dangerous from free kicks and corners. It has Saliba, Upamecano, Rabiot, Mbappe, and players with strong delivery. Olise can send in a very dangerous ball. Dembele can win fouls on the flank. Mbappe can take a free kick or create danger after the second ball. Morocco cannot afford to give France too many set pieces close to the box. But Morocco can also threaten from set pieces. Hakimi can cross and shoot. Brahim Diaz can create difficult trajectories. The center-backs can win aerial duels, and while Bounou gives confidence at the other end, every Moroccan defensive corner against French power will still feel nervous. In matches like this, a set piece is often the way to bypass the tactical lock. When the game does not open through positional attack, one delivery can do what passing patterns cannot. The first goal will have enormous importance. If France scores first, Morocco will have to open up, and that is the most dangerous scenario against Mbappe and Dembele. When the opponent is forced to step higher, France gets space, and then the match can quickly move away from Morocco's control. If Morocco scores first, everything becomes much more interesting. France will be in a situation where it has to do more than press, it has to chase. Morocco can close the center, play on emotion, use counterattacks, and force France to become nervous. The longer Morocco keeps the lead, the stronger the feeling will become that history might repeat itself, but with a different ending. If the first half ends without goals, the match becomes a chess game. Who takes the first risk? Who makes the first substitution? Who changes the structure first? Deschamps can bring on Desire Due if he needs freshness and unpredictable movement. Ouabi can strengthen a flank, or add a player who holds the ball better. But every substitution has to arrive at the right moment, because one wrong change can open the exact zone the opponent needs. It is also interesting that France must think not only about winning, but about the cost of winning. Yellow cards can affect a possible semi-final. Fatigue can affect the next match, but in a knockout game, you cannot save yourself. You cannot play at half speed. You cannot think about the semi-final before you have reached it. Morocco is exactly the kind of team that will punish any thought of the future. For Morocco, this match is a chance to do what it could not do 4 years ago. But it is important to say this, it is not only revenge. If the team lives only on the emotion of revenge, it could burn itself out. Ouabi has emphasized that Morocco wants to go as far as possible, and make its people proud. That is the right approach. Not to seek revenge, not to replay the match from the past, but to win the match in front of them today. Football does not like it when teams walk onto the pitch, carrying the past instead of a plan. Morocco has to stay cold. France will try to pull it apart, accelerate the game, drag players out of position, and force mistakes. Morocco has to answer with discipline. Do not chase the ball if it opens a zone. Do not foul near the box. Do not lose structure after the first dangerous attack. Do not panic if France keeps the ball for 5 straight minutes. France also has to stay cold. It cannot get irritated if Morocco closes the lanes. It cannot shoot from bad positions too early. It cannot lose the ball in midfield because of impatience. It cannot give Hakimi space simply because it wants to score faster. Sometimes the stronger team loses not because the opponent is better, but because it starts to rush. A possible match script looks like this. France starts more actively, takes the ball, and tries to find entries into the box through Olise and Dembele. Morocco plays carefully in the opening minutes, but does not drop completely into its own box. Hakimi waits for the first moment to run, Brahim Diaz tries to receive between the lines, and Ounahi pushes higher. France creates pressure, but Morocco survives it. Then comes the main stretch of the first half. If France finds a goal before the break, it gains control. If it does not, Morocco grows braver. French frustration could appear, and Moroccan confidence could grow. And then the second half becomes exactly the kind of football the neutral viewer loves. The favorite pushes, but the so-called outsider does not only defend, it answers back. But calling Morocco an outsider today is no longer entirely correct. Yes, France is the favorite because of its squad, experience and depth. But Morocco is not a random team. It did not reach this stage through luck. It survived a difficult path, came through the group, knocked out the Netherlands, crushed Canada, and became the first African national team to reach the quarter-finals at 2 consecutive World Cups. That is already a level. For France, the danger is exactly there. It cannot walk into this match thinking it is facing just another team it has already beaten before. Back then, Morocco was a sensation. Now Morocco is a project, a system, a team with character and quality. If France starts the game too confident, almost too relaxed, that could become a mistake. The key duels are obvious, but each one can develop in different ways. Mbappe against the Moroccan defense is the headline, but this is not one defender against one forward. This is Morocco's entire structure against the most dangerous player in France. If Mbappe receives the ball in motion, Morocco will suffer. If he receives with his back to goal, and far from the box, Morocco will be able to breathe. Olise against Morocco's midfield is the duel of ideas. If Olise finds space between the lines, France will create chances. If El Ainaoui and Bouadi close those zones, the French attack becomes more wide, more predictable, and easier to manage. Hakimi against the left side of France is the duel of risk. If Hakimi goes forward at the right moment, Morocco gets one of its main attacking exits. If he mistimes it, France can strike into the space behind him. Bounou against the French attack is the duel of nerves. Morocco's goalkeeper can become the hero if the match stays tight, but against that number of shots, crosses and balls into the box, even one rebound can decide everything. Deschamps against Ouabi is the coaching duel of experience and freshness. Deschamps has seen almost everything. He knows how to win matches that do not follow the plan. Ouabi, on the other hand, can be more flexible, braver, and less predictable, and that is what makes the meeting so interesting. If we talk about France's weak points, the main one is the space after turnovers and the possible midfield adjustment without Tchouaméni. France is very strong when it attacks in an organized way. But if the ball is lost in the center or out wide, while the fullbacks are already high, Morocco can break, and in that moment, it is not only the defenders who matter, it is the immediate reaction of the whole team after losing possession. Another risk for France is the need to be efficient. The team creates a lot, but against Paraguay it needed a penalty. If Morocco defends with the same compactness, France has to use its first truly high-quality chance. In a quarter-final, you cannot allow the opponent to stay alive in the match for too long. Morocco's weak points are the possible lack of classic physical presence up front, and the strain on the defense under long spells of pressure. If Saibari is not ready, Morocco may lose part of its attacking options. If the team drops too deep, France will begin to press through set pieces, second balls, and individual actions. Morocco cannot simply defend, it has to threaten. My prediction for the flow of the match is this: France will have more of the ball, attack more in settled possession, and reach the edge of the box more often. Morocco will stay compact, patient, and look for fast exits through Hakimi, Diaz, and Ounahi. The first half could be cautious, but with a few very dangerous moments. In the second half, the tempo should rise, because both teams will understand that the closer the finish gets, the more valuable every single episode becomes. I do not expect an easy French win. Morocco is too organized, too confident, and too well prepared to simply fall apart. I do not expect France to walk out and overpower the opponent just because of the names on the team sheet. This match should be difficult, tight, nervous, and deeply tactical. But France still has more tools for solving problems. If one flank does not work, there is another. If Mbappe is closed, there is Dembele. If Dembele cannot break through, there is Olise. If the game does not open up, there is Du. If a penalty is needed, there is Mbappe. If match management is needed, there is Deschamps. Morocco has belief, structure, and class, but France has more options at every stage of the game. My score prediction is France to win 2-1. But this is not a prediction for a calm match, it is the opposite. I expect Morocco to score, or at least to come very close. I expect France to go through a difficult spell where the favorite is under pressure not only from the opponent, but from its own responsibility. And I expect the decisive difference to be not possession, not status, and not reputation, but one moment of quality in the final third. France versus Morocco is a match about how far a team can go once it is no longer just a fairy tale, and how strong a team really is when it has learned to live with the label of favorite. It is a match about the memory of Qatar, but not only about the past. It is a match about the future, about whether Morocco can take another step for African football, and whether France can once again prove that this generation remains one of the most powerful forces in world football. In Boston, this will not be a simple evening. It will be a fight for the semi-final. It will be speed against discipline, individual class against collective belief, Mbappe against the Moroccan wall, Hakimi against French pressure, Deschamps against Mbappe. And if this match gets an early goal, it could become one of the brightest quarter-finals of the entire tournament. But even if the goals do not come for a long time, the tension will not disappear, because sometimes big matches do not live through the number of chances, but through the feeling that the next moment could be the decisive one. And that is exactly what France versus Morocco should be, a match where one team defends its status as favorite, while the other tries to prove that its place among the best has not been accidental for a very long time.